Welcome to this module on cyclones that forms a part of MEV 002 Environmental and Occupational Hazards. I introduce myself as Dr. Sushmita Bhaskar, working in the discipline of Environmental Studies at the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. Now, we have seen and we have also faced so many of the natural hazards. We have discussed each of them one by one. So, cyclone is also a very important hazard, and let us now see the learning objectives of this module. After this module, you will be able to describe the tropical cyclones, for example, the hurricanes, typhoons and cyclones, and the process of their formation. You will also learn and understand the impacts that are caused by these hazards, and also we would finally see how these hazards can be managed in an effective and proper way. First of all, what is a cyclone? What refers to a cyclone? So, it is a large scale air mass that rotates around a strong center of low atmospheric pressure. It is also characterized by inward spiraling winds that rotate around a zone of low pressure. The term that is given is cyclogenesis, and that is the development of cyclonic circulation in the atmosphere. Tropical cyclones. In most often we find that the cyclones are formed in the tropical conditions. Tropical cyclones form due to the latent heat driven by significant thunderstorm activity developing a warm core. Tropical cyclones, as I said, these are capable of producing very strong winds, particularly near its center, and torrential rainfall also is seen, and it is also associated with storm surges. Globally, the tropical cyclones rank with floods as the most lethal geophysical hazards. Now, the tropical cyclone can also be very destructive. You might have often heard about these cyclones, especially in our country, that is in India, maybe in Orissa, and also in the recently we had one in West Bengal and also Bangladesh, that is a cyclone Amphan. So, why are these cyclones producing devastating effects? So, they can be very destructive, they can cause severe and widespread damage to all the coastal communities. So, India itself, if you see, we have a very long coastal belt, almost 7,800 kilometer long coastal belt, and many communities are settled along these coastlines, and they have their livelihoods there. So, there is widespread damage to these coastal communities, to their infrastructure and also to the ecosystems. Tropical cyclone, technically, this originates over the tropical oceans, and it is driven principally by heat transfer from the ocean. Intense synoptic scale cyclones in the tropics are also referred to as tropical cyclones. Hurricanes. The tropical cyclones are also called hurricanes over the Atlantic, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico and Eastern Pacific Ocean. So, they have different terminologies, like in some places they are known as hurricanes, in some places they are also known as typhoons, and in the tropical regions they are also referred to as cyclones. So, they are the different terms that are given. So, these tropical cyclones over the Atlantic, the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico and Eastern Pacific Oceans are usually called as hurricanes, and these hurricanes, they have warm cores, while mid latitude cyclones have cold cores. The hurricane can persist 2 to 3 times longer than the typical mid latitude cyclones. Typhoon. Over the Western Pacific, the cyclones are also referred to as typhoons. Over the Indian Ocean and near Australia, they are known as cyclones. Now, the tropical cyclones are initiated by a large variety of disturbances, including the easterly waves and also the monsoon troughs. Let us now give the classification of cyclones. So, the cyclones can be classified based on the place of their origin and also the temperature of their center or the core, that is the inner central region. The temperature of that is also very important in order to classify the cyclones. The first one is a tropical cyclone. They derive their energy from the latent heat acquired from evaporation of water at the ocean surface that will be subsequently released upon condensation at greater heights. And the Earth's rotation is also very important in driving these cyclonic winds and the speed of these cyclones. So the Earth's rotation will drive the cyclonic wind at low levels in the atmosphere towards resulting in the low pressure areas. Factors for the tropical cyclone formation. So there are certain factors which are very important which are required for a typical tropical cyclone to be formed. The first one is the sufficiently warm sea surface temperatures. So the sea surface temperatures have to be sufficiently warm in order to initiate the process of cyclone formation. The second is atmospheric instability. This is also a very important factor and parameter for cyclone formation. The third is high humidity is required in the lower to middle levels of the troposphere. As you know, we have the various layers in the Earth's atmosphere, and you have the troposphere, the stratosphere, the various phases, the various boundaries also between every layer. So the high humidity in the lower to the middle levels of the troposphere is very important. Then enough Coriolis force to develop a low pressure center. This is also a very important factor. Low vertical wind shear is required and a pre-existing low level focus or disturbance. So these are the 6 to 7 important factors for the tropical cyclone formation. Again discussing on the cyclone formation, now in this picture you can see how the cyclones form, and by the IMD, that is the Indian Meteorological Department, they actually generate these pictures, and also they give warning to the coastal communities and the people staying over there, so that sufficient time is given for them to evacuate, and also rescue operations also can be started upon. I mean, they can be prepared. So preparedness is very important. It is the first step towards disaster management. So pre-disaster management is an important step. But still in many of the rural areas, sometimes the fishermen are unaware and they do not get the warning in the right time, and they venture out into the sea, and that is why you find the reports that the fishermen are missing, or something disastrous has occurred due to their boats have overturned, and such things come in the media. So the cyclone disaster and devastation, this has occurred a lot in our country and also in globally and worldwide, and we will see some more factors for the tropical cyclone formation. So once these cyclones develop into a depression, okay, as we discussed all the factors, once they develop into the depression, then they become almost circular in shape. So this figure is actually showing you how it is swirling, like this the chakra, what you call, and how it is giving that spiraling kind of effect, and it is becoming circular in shape. So a well developed cyclone, this can consist of an eye wall and the spiral band, which is seen over here. The center or eye of a tropical cyclone, okay, often you would have seen in the newspapers, they say that the eye of the tropical cyclone is at the area of the lowest pressure, and this is characterized by little or no wind, and often there is a cloudless sky. So these are some things which are to be observed and noted. Now in severe cyclones, the eye usually shows up as a circular hole in the central cloud mass. You can actually see the hole in this picture as a circular hole in the central cloud mass. So that was about the tropical cyclone. Now the next classification is the extratropical cyclone. This refers to cyclone that is outside the tropics in the middle latitudes. These derive much of their energy from the ambient horizontal temperature difference in the atmosphere, and this gradient represents potential energy that a developing storm can convert to the kinetic energy, in this case rotational wind. As colder, denser air wedges under the warmer air, then the center of gravity is lowered, and the resulting reduction in potential energy will be manifested as kinetic energy by the developing cyclone. The density difference across the temperature front is supported by vertical wind shear or increasing westerly wind speed with height in the mid latitudes. So these are some terminologies that are used for the classification of the different cyclones. Now there is a third classification, and that is the subtropical cyclone. This is a weather system and has some characteristics of a tropical cyclone, and it has some characteristics of an extratropical cyclone. So it has both the characteristics, so it is in between. Now, one thing is they have broad wind patterns with maximum sustained winds located farther from the center than the typical tropical cyclone. They occur in areas of weak to moderate temperature gradient. Although the subtropical storms rarely have the hurricane force winds, but they can become the tropical cyclone in nature when their cores warm up. A non-frontal low pressure system that has characteristics of both tropical and subtropical cyclones. Now, normally they can originate over the tropical or the subtropical waters, and they have a closed surface wind circulation about a well defined center. They possess moderate to deep convection, but they lack a dense overcast. Now, where do they derive their energy from? So, they derive their energy from the baroclinic sources, and they are generally cold core in the upper troposphere, often being associated with an upper level low or trough. Now, where are the ocean basins where the tropical cyclones form? Some of them include the Atlantic Basin, that includes the North Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. It also includes the Northeast Pacific Basin. It includes the North Indian Basin, including the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. Southwest Indian Basin also you can see where they form, the Southeast Indian and Australian Basin and Australian Southwest Pacific Basin. So, these are some of the important oceanic basins where the tropical cyclones form. Coming on to eye wall and the spiral bands. The eye of the tropical cyclone is usually about 40 kilometers in diameter, but this can also vary between less than 10 kilometer and more than 100 kilometers. Surrounding the eye is a wall of dense convective cloud that rises about 15 or 17 kilometer into the atmosphere. This is the eye wall, and that is where the most violent winds and the heaviest rainfall are known to occur. Then there are also these spiral bands, and they extend almost up to 1000 kilometers from the cyclone center, and they contain heavy rain and the strong winds. So, eye wall and the spiral bands, these are the important characteristics, and we have also discussed about their how much is their diameter, and whether there are violent winds and the characteristics associated with them. Now, this table shows you the classification of the low pressure systems in the Bay of Bengal and in the Arabian Sea, because we are more concerned about the cyclones that occur and may occur in future in our country. So, on one side you have the type of disturbances, on the other side you have the associated wind speed in the circulation. You have the low pressure area where it could be less than 31 kilometers per hour. Depression, it could be between 31 to 49 kilometers per hour. Deep depression could be between 50 to 61 kilometer per hour. Cyclonic storms, this can range from 62 to 88 kilometers per hour. Severe cyclonic storms, they can range from 89 to 118 kilometers per hour. Then we also have very severe cyclonic storms, which are 119 to 221 kilometers per hour. You can see the speed of the how much the wind speed is there in circulation. And super cyclonic storm, this refers to when the wind speed is 222 kilometers per hour and above. So, that is why we have had incidences in the past. You had the Odisha cyclone in the 1990s, and recently you had the Amphan also. They were all super cyclonic storms because their wind speed was more than 222 kilometers per hour. And from that also you will know the amount of destruction and the devastation and the damage that will occur and is going to occur. Saphir and Simpson scale for hurricanes. This is also a very important way of the classifying the category of the wind speeds and the effects of the storm surge. Here you have the categories between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, and if we have the wind speeds that range from 74 to 95 miles per hour, then we can see that maybe no real damage to any building structures can occur, but there can be a little bit of coastal road flooding and some minor damage. The category 2, that is a little higher up, which goes up to 110 miles per hour. Then you will see that some of the roofing material, doors or some windows can be damaged. Then there can also be certain damage in the coastal low lying areas. Then there can be floods before the arrival of the center, and things like that. Even if some of the vegetation also can be damaged. So it's not a very high category, but still the category and the wind speed actually determines the effect which is going to be produced by that particular cyclone or the hurricane. Level 3. This is above 130 miles per hour. Here you will have visibly you can see some structural damage to the infrastructure, that is regarding domestic, that is residences or the office buildings, and then there can be flooding again in the coastal areas, and some things like this can be noted. But of course the devastation will be more, and you will find that the more of the structures would even be floating in the waters, also debris. Category 5, which is more than 155 miles per hour, here there is extensive damage, and the complete structure and even the small residence can be completely destroyed, and they can be submerged or they can even float in the waters depending on the building material. And in this the damage will be more, and it can cost a lot, and even the inland areas also can be flooded to a very high extent. Category 5, which is greater than 155 miles per hour. In this case, the complete roof failure on many of the buildings, industrial buildings, the complete buildings and everything could be destroyed. Then the major damage can occur to the lower floors of the structures. In some cases in buildings you have seen that there are the ground floor and you also have the basement. You can have the first basement and also the second basement. In that case then these all can be affected, and massive evacuation of those residential communities and colonies will be required, and the shoreline also will have to be evacuated completely, so that we can actually save lives of many. Now that we have understood all these classification and the types of the cyclones, what are the impacts of the tropical cyclones? They can cause wide variety of devastation, destruction, which we already discussed, mainly loss of life and to property and to infrastructure. If you have seen in any disaster, when disaster strikes or when the hazards come, people are unprepared. Even if it is a cyclone, though we have a little bit of the early warning signals that maybe today there is going to be a rain, but until we are actually faced with that impact, then people start running helter-skelter. So do we have all the pre-disaster, during the disaster and the post-disaster things in place? Do we have them in place? That needs to be seen, and that needs to be introspected. Now the next part is flooding, water pollution and disease infestation. So in a country like where the population is so much, okay, you find so many people who are settled, and the flooded waters, they can remain for days, they can even remain for weeks. In this case you can see that disease infestation, you have mosquitoes, you have the breeding of various kind of the vectors that can give rise to the vector-borne diseases. You can have dengue, you can have chikungunya, West Nile virus, so many types of the biological viruses, and which are all transmitted through the vectors. So this also often we have seen that after a monsoon, after the cyclones, the emergency operations are in line, and you find that people are affected with various types of these vector-borne diseases. Then water pollution. Obviously the groundwater, the surface water, everything will be polluted. There will be debris floating, suspended material, even sometimes liquids oozing out from here and there. The agricultural field, maybe there could be a runoff with all the chemicals, the pesticides, the fertilizers. So everything is impacted. So the water is totally impure, unfit for drinking as well as for other purposes. So hazardous phenomena, we normally think that maybe these cyclones and hurricanes are restricted to only the coastal areas or the coastal areas, but it's not necessarily. The inland part is also affected. We have seen that what is the speed required, the wind speeds that are required, where even the inland parts are also affected and also submerged under these waters. So they can be located both on islands and coast and also the inland areas. Now the damages in the inland also, sometimes another effect or the secondary effect of the cyclones could be the landslides and flood, even sometimes hundreds and thousand kilometers away from the ocean. So this is also the impact of the tropical cyclone. Now coming on to management. Now that we have learnt and seen everything, how do we manage these hazards? So predicting the trajectory and evolution of cyclone is important. So that is why we have these early warning systems in place by the use of technology, and improved observations and numerical models are used. So there they are able to forecast efficiently. Predicting the intensity of cyclones, the wind strength, amount of precipitation, wave and tidal amplitude, improved weather forecasting and warning procedures. All these need to be in place for proper management of these hazards. Now, it would not be proper if we don't make a mention of the India Meteorological Department, and this headquarters is at New Delhi. Earlier the headquarters were at different places, but now it is stationed at New Delhi. India was the first developing country in the world to have its own geostationary satellite, that is INSAT, for the continuous weather monitoring and particularly for the cyclone warning. And this IMD is responsible for giving the weather forecast for the warnings such as the storm surge warning, cyclone warning, wind warning. It also gives you the probability of the cyclogenesis. It can track the cyclonic disturbances, and also it gives you the seasonal forecast and quantitative precipitation forecast and so on. So these are the work that the IMD is working on. This was established in 1875, and the National Meteorological Service of the country and the principal government agency, this is one which in all matters relating to meteorology and the allied subjects. So that is the one in the country. So what does it work on? The meteorological observation, providing forecast on meteorological information for the optimum generation of weather sensitive activities like agriculture, irrigation, shipping, aviation, offshore oil exploration and so on. They also warn against the severe weather phenomena like the tropical cyclones, dust storms, heavy rains and snow, cold and the heat waves. They also provide meteorological statistics required for agriculture, water source management, for industries, oil exploration and other nation building activities. So for all these activities to go on, like for if the people have to go for the drilling and the oil exploration and certain other building activities, then in that case we should know the condition of the weather on that particular day. So they need to conduct and promote research in meteorology and allied disciplines. So that is what they focus on. So now, having understood everything about the cyclones and the hurricanes and typhoons, let us now discuss some disastrous cyclones that have occurred in the past. Katrina in 2005, this was a costly hurricane, and this incurred almost an estimated 108 billion US dollars in damage both in Louisiana as well as in Mississippi. It also caused a large number of deaths and to life and to property. The same way Sandy in 2012. This was another costly hurricane, and this also caused 71 billion US dollars in damage, and this was on the eastern part of the United States. Andrew 1992, this was a category 5 hurricane, and that hit southeast Florida and southeast Louisiana. This also caused 26 billion or more damage, so much more billion US dollars in damage, and these are supposed to be some of the most disastrous hurricanes. Some more include the cyclone Tracy, which occurred in 1974. Though it was small, but it was an intense cyclone, and this struck the Australian city of Darwin, which destroyed most of the city's buildings, and it caused also many deaths. Then the tropical cyclone in 1970 that hit Bangladesh. This also resulted as a result of a storm surge, and it killed almost 3 lakh people. The typhoon Haiyan in 2013, this was a category 5 typhoon that hit central Philippines. Finally, touching upon the cyclone Idai, this was one of the strongest tropical cyclone to record. This affected Africa and the southern hemisphere. So in this figure and the diagram, you can see where actually this storm actually hit the places. So this occurred somewhere in March 2019, and the storm actually brought heavy rains to Malawi before heading out to the sea of the coast of Mozambique, and then this intensified into the cyclone Idai. So this had winds of up to 185 kilometers per hour. So now you know the speed, and there was a lot of rain in the just 24 hours time interval, and then it struck Mozambique, port city of Beira, which was home to a large population of people. Almost 5 lakh people stay in that area. Then after that it went inland and it affected Zimbabwe. So there was widespread devastation and loss of life and livelihoods in these three areas, in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe and also in Malawi. So in the effects that were actually noted, flooding occurred in all these places. Over 1 million people were displaced by the storm, and it was not just a heavy rainfall that led to flooding, but the storm surge hit the coastal city of Beira, that was a lot. And the ocean floor along the coast of Mozambique, that is conducive to give the storm surge, which was another factor for this to occur. So according to the Red Cross, almost 90% of Beira was damaged and destroyed. The communication, power and the clean water, all this was severely disrupted. The landslides were also triggered by Idai. Houses, roads and crops were also submerged, and then the cholera infected the people in this Mozambique's cyclone hit region. Now the UN World Food Programme also reported that it wiped out a whole year of the crops and the production across these three places, that is Mozambique, Malawi and Zimbabwe, where almost 1 million acres of the crops were destroyed. Another important one, and coming to the final of this lecture, is the cyclone Amphan, which was a super cyclonic storm, and that was a powerful and catastrophic tropical cyclone that caused widespread damage in eastern India. Specifically in West Bengal and also in Bangladesh. This occurred in May 2020. It was one of the strongest tropical cyclone to strike the Gangetic Delta since the 1999 Odisha cyclone. So it was a fourth super cyclone that hit West Bengal since 1942. The coastal areas such as the East Midnapur, Kolkata, then Hooghly, Howrah and Odisha were affected by the cyclone, and it caused significant destruction in Bangladesh, which costed $13.6 billion US. And here you see that though it started from a low pressure area 100 miles east of Colombo in Sri Lanka with a wind speed of 240 km per hour, how that actually moved and then affected other parts in that entire region. So the relief operations, normally the National Disaster Response Force, the NDRF, Indian Air Force, the Indian Navy, the National Disaster Management Authority, then the disaster relief teams were also sent by the Indian Coast Guard, and the aid relief effort for the relief operations. All this was done by all this central agencies, the state and also the local governments. So coming to the summary of this lecture, we have understood and learnt the definitions of a tropical cyclone, the classification of cyclones, a hurricane and a typhoon, the impacts and the effects that are caused by these natural disasters. We have also discussed some important case studies, and then finally we have seen how these can be properly managed, and where the local, the state and the central governments are all important. They all come together in order to manage the rescue and the relief operations, where recovery and rehabilitation of the people and that place is possible. Thank you.